difference between getting a deal and not getting a deal is incredibly small. So in this video, we're going to go over a 4-step framework that can help you prepare for appointments and boost your conversion rate. I've always had a saying that you have to do the things that no one else is willing to do so that you can buy houses at discounts that no one else can. And that applies to every area of your investing, not just your marketing and your follow-up and your outreach, but it also includes your preparation for your appointments. So step 1 in our framework for preparing for your appointments is to extract as much info as possible from that initial door knock or call or outreach method to your seller. You're extracting all the information you can in terms of beds and baths on the house, age of the HVAC, age of the roof, what kind of condition the foundation is, what their motivation is. Have a script in place that you can walk through every single aspect of what you need to know about the house. Really try to press your homeowner for the condition of the property. Try to get them to tell you, what are the big things that would need to be done if you were going to put it on the MLS? Does it need paint? Does it need carpet? Are the cabinets damaged? What's the condition of all the flooring? Does it need to be replaced? How are the bathrooms? Have they been updated? Again, go into deep detail. You can't ask too many questions as long as you're keeping the conversation conversational. That way, when you get to the appointment, there's not nearly the amount of surprises. You can be ready. You're ready because you've gathered all that information on the front end. Of course, you want that initial phone call to be conversational. You don't want it to feel like 20 questions or anything like that. But at the same time, this is a part of your prep. So whether it's you on those calls, whether it's your team members, make sure that they follow through every single piece of information that you need to get. That way you can be more prepared when the time comes for that appointment. The next step in our 4-part framework is to look up comparables. And most of you just think, oh, we're looking up ARV. What is it worth fixed up after we've done all the repairs and the renovations? But to be more prepared for this appointment, you not only need to know what the ARV is in terms of what the after repair value is after rehab, but you need to know what as-is listings are going for. One of my main strategies as an investor is to do a wholesale. So I don't necessarily like to do all the fix and flip and take 6 months to do the rehab, throw that back on the MLS, and all of a sudden your cash conversion cycle is really long. I actually like to do wholesales. So I will look up as-is listings and compare them to what I can get my property for, then clean them out, throw them on the market, get as-is value, so a little bit less than ARV, but your cash conversion cycle is shorter. So we go ahead and go on the MLS. We look for as-is listings. What have they sold for? So for example, look at this house here. We have a house that clearly needs a lot of repairs. Look at the floors, how messy they are. The walls are all dinged up. It clearly needs a full rehab. So how do we assess these type of properties? So for example, this particular property, it's listed for $209. Let's say that it sold for $209. We could go through solds, but you're looking for sold properties. So let's assume that this one went for $209 for all intents and purposes. We could take our phone, say, oh, this property is going to sell for $209. Let's look at our calculator. $209,000. We're going to multiply that by 70%. So multiply that by 70%. All of a sudden, you can offer about $146,000 on this house. Maybe you want to account for a few $1,000s in clean out and getting it ready for list. So let's subtract $2,000 out of there for that. Okay, that gives us an offer of $144,000. So when you are preparing for your appointments, you want to go look in the neighborhood that you're buying in. Look for as-is listings, just like this one. And my formula has always been, hey, if the property has sold for that and it's an as-is listing and it looks like yours, you can go ahead and take that listing price, multiply that by 65 or 70%, depending on what you're comfortable with, and that can be your offer. But you don't want to be just prepared for as-is listings. You want to know what they can go for full market retail after you do a flip. So again, you're going to go through your comps in your area, find one that is renovated and looks really nice, is move-in ready, such as this one. Take a look at it. It's like, oh, it's pretty nice. Maybe it could be a little bit better, but this is the top comp in the neighborhood. Obviously, it's going for $255,000. I would take that property, take $255,000, multiply that by about 70 to 75%, depending on who you are. I'm going to multiply mine by 75%. And then on my property, I'm going to assume maybe it needs $55,000 or $60,000 repairs. It's pretty normal rehab for us. So I'm going to subtract out 60,000 bucks. That gives me an offer of 131,000. So you can see where my last offer on my as-is listing, I could offer in the 140s, whereas my flips, maybe I'm in the 130s. That's going to make it more attractive to your seller to get a higher number. So that's why, depending on your exit strategy, whether it be a wholesale or a flip, if you can have both of those numbers in your head before you go into that appointment, maybe you can start out with your offer being towards the lower end, but the seller says, I'm really needing this number. Well, you're prepared and knowing that, hey, maybe the number has to be higher. Maybe I'll do an exit strategy of a flip, or maybe I can wholesale it. But you come in prepared with two different numbers. That way, dependent on the outcome, you're ready. So again, that's why it's really important in step one to get all the information about the condition. That way you can make an educated guess on what the repairs will be. Then, if you spend the time in the MLS or using your realtor to get comps, you can look up those as-is listings, see approximately which one looks similar to what your seller described, and then you can come up with an approximate as-is offer for the property. And likewise, look up some comps that are fully flipped. And then if you know, hey, I'm guessing it's going to be 50 or 60 grand on the rehab based on what the seller said, I can then work backward, figure out approximately what my offer can be for an as-is wholesale or a full market value retail flip. So let's say you've had that conversation with a seller, extracted that information, step one. Step two, you've looked up comparables, you're ready with an as-is offer and a full market flip retail offer. That brings us to step three of our process, which is to prepare the paperwork. When I go to an appointment, I'm going to have a little packet like this prepared. Preferably this would be staying in your car and it's ready to go at a moment's notice. Maybe you have a door knock or a last minute appointment. You always want to have a contract with you. So what do I have in these packets? I'm going to have a cash agreement on one side, depending on if the seller wants to go that way. I might have sub 2 paperwork on the other, and perhaps even some novation agreements if that's part of your business model. I have different business cards, myself, and my transaction coordinator if you have one, and I even have a pin within this packet. Now, I'm not just going to stop there. Within this packet, I'm going to have all of the purchase agreements filled out. So the cash purchase agreement filled out the most I can. The sub 2 or novation agreements filled out the most that I can. Are you going to have a purchase number in that packet? Of course not. You've got to negotiate that with your seller. But then when it comes time to talk numbers, you agree upon a number with the seller and you are ready to move forward with a purchase agreement. Hey, that transition all of a sudden becomes super clean because you can pull out that purchase agreement and say, hey, I've already filled this out for you, and it makes the experience just that much more enjoyable for your seller, and it makes it look like you're very well prepared, and they're impressed, they feel confident, they're ready to keep moving forward. So I would definitely recommend buying folders that are branded for your company. Leave these out in the car until you are ready to sign the purchase agreement. Go grab that. Then you have your purchase agreement of choice pre-filled out. You're ready to go. Make sure you have this completely filled out before the appointment. Have someone on your team, if you have an admin, make 20 or 30 of these at a time. That way, when you have an appointment, you can simply go grab one, you're ready, you're not having to mess with the printer, and then you can fill that out, be ready for your appointment. So as a recap, we've got as much information out of our seller as we can. We've looked up our comps, we're ready with an as-is value and a flip number. We also have prepared our paperwork. Step 4 is to send this property out to your best buyers. These are people that you vetted, you trust. You're not sending this out to 1,000 people, 100 people. You're sending this out to your top 2, 3, 4 buyers that you go to all of the time. And what are you sending them? You're saying, hey, Mr. Buyer, I have an appointment at 123 Main Street tomorrow at 4 o'clock. This is the condition that the seller said it's in. They said it needs paint, they said it needs carpet, they said it needs a new roof, but it's structurally sound. Probably, based on what I'm hearing, it needs about a $30,000 or $40,000 rehab. I don't have pictures yet, but here are the specs: 3-bed, 2.5 bath. What is a range that you would be comfortable buying that property in? They say, oh, well, with that condition, 140 to 160. all of a sudden you know, hey, my buyer is willing to pay that. And of course, you're going to have to confirm that with really good pictures. You're not going to just any buyer on this. You're going to the best of the best. The people that are going to be able to close in 10 days, the people that are going to buy blind based off really good pictures and video. So you are arming yourself with a couple of different offers at price points that they're willing to pay. Then when you go in the appointment, you of course have your as-is offer and you have your flip offer, but then you have added assurance of knowing, hey, this buyer's willing to go this high. Maybe I can push my numbers up a little bit and create some opportunity to make a spread where there wasn't one previously. Then when you're at the appointment, you're of course going to get about 100 pictures, a bunch of videos where you're panning slowly around the house. That way you can then confirm with your end buyer what they're willing to pay, and hopefully it's about that number that they suggested before. Hopefully after going through these 4 steps, you realize how important the details are. The difference between getting a deal and not is very small. You want that deal to fall off on the right side of the fence. Details are what matters. And in the niche community, that is what we focus on. We focus on all the small things that add up to a big thing in terms of you getting deals and scaling your company. So if you are all interested in learning the business in a deep way, not a mile wide and an inch deep, we're talking a couple feet wide and 1,000 feet deep to where you are an expert at your craft and you can go out and get deals reliably. Look at the link down in the description. I would love to talk with you to see if you're a good fit for the community. But again, if this has been valuable for you, going over the framework of how to prepare for an appointment, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.